I was over 260, probably 265, and now sitting at 212. So play the course and trust it, right? Don't get too worked up.
Welcome back to another episode of the Kettlebell Guys podcast. My name is Coach Grant. We are very, very excited today because it's another one of those special episodes where we get to interview one of the KT clients. And today we have none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jason Walgren on the podcast with us. What's up, Jason?
Not much, man. Just enjoying a lovely fall Friday here in Minnesota, so can't complain.
Minnesota? I thought you were from Florida for some reason.
I just visit.
In Florida.
You're in the Midwest.
Midwest.
The upper northern Midwest, it sounds like. If you're up there in Minnesota, eh?
Big game this weekend, Jason. Big game.
That's true. We'll say it depends on which team. I don't know if all the teams. There are a couple. I certainly shifted a little over to my alma mater, so it's the Gophers I follow a little more. But I'm trying to think. I suppose it is I suppose it's Vikings Bears, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought I saw a GIF that you posted, which was what I thought to be the Gopher of Minnesota, but he had an O on his chest. So I'm like, that's
0. So it's just a 0. So they're football is playing the Ducks, so it
that's
could be
the number of wins that Minnesota's football team has.
They got a couple more. They're doing all right.
Sorry, that was low. That's
from Indiana. Yeah,
my team has been historically god awful until 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden they're the best team in the country. So I can say this.
It's fantastic.
So, Jason, welcome to the podcast, man. Truly honored that you're here with us today. You've been a client now for over a year. Can you give all 10 people who are listening, can you give them kind of your background and how you found KT and just...
Yeah, certainly. So for me, right off, certainly pretty active lifestyle as a whole, but certainly I truthfully really didn't care for working out. I liked doing stuff, but working out I could never find anything I wanted to do. And certainly though, as you say, got thinning and stuff coming into play, stuff gets a little longer, you do realize you got to do something. But it was trying to find something that doesn't take a lot of time, sort of, and gets what needs to be done so you can do your stuff. Certainly, I'd never worked with kettlebells prior to, and so I was looking at what could be done. It was kind of intriguing. And then we were prepping for a ski trip, and my wife and I started kind of doing, I think it was through Men's Health. I had a routine to kind of get ready. And we started in there, and I'm like, this is kind of something more I could do. And then it is a little of the Instagram feeds, right? You start doing searches and stuff starts coming through, and certainly saw yours and was kind of intrigued on, the simplicity of it, right? That you're not doing a lot of crazy stuff, right? It's, kind of I don't want to say basic, but it's repeat and heavy and kind of stay at it, right? So that certainly is what kind of started it off.
It is the basics, 100%. That is absolutely it. Can you give, so people are listening, can you give a little bit of your background? Like, what do you do for work, your age, things like that?
IT manager. So I've done all my professional career has been some space of IT, but right now I'm managing a end user services team. I got to think of age. That's sad, right? 53. So that's, as you say, I really,
53.
That's right.
And so, like I say, we kind of got into what really also prompts some of the exercise. We got into finally getting out west to go skiing. Most of mine's been Midwest, hadn't been out West Mountain, and it is just more fatiguing if you're not. Times I've prepped for it are better than not. It's always fun. It's just what you can and can't do. And it's even last night when I was, the wife and I were out walking the dog. I'm like, this is the whole reason for this is it won't, it's not forever, but how do you extend it? How do you make all of this just work? And so certainly, for me, doing this the 4 times a week makes pretty much everything I want to do physically just easier. It's not that I was per se doing more or less. It's just not as fatiguing for sure.
Love that. What was your breaking point? Like, why did you end up seeking out a solution based on where you were when you joined?
Oh, it was 100% a ski trip. We were getting done, and I'm like, I can't do it. Like I say, I used to kind of, you could fake it, right? If you're not in shape for the trip and you know how to ski, you can get through it and you can do certain stuff. But we were at it, and I'm like, I'm spent. I just can't physically do it anymore. And you're like, got to do something. Otherwise, kind of the party's over.
So this was presumably it looks like you joined KT in about May of 2024. Does that sound right? end of
It
April.
is, and we had an April trip that year, and like I say, it's still fun, but you're just like you can't do. There's just things you can't do because it's skiing is an exhausting activity. I mean, at the end.
Give me
That's
the
the truth.
stats on the Jason in April in that ski trip. What's just body stats? I mean, obviously we can get into everything, but where's that guy at?
How fast were you going down the mountain? What
Yeah,
was your
yeah. I
So
mean, like
splits?
that's
speed.
right. We did, well, not that trip, a different ones. The daughter and I did do the app tracking where we did top speed. It was at Winter Park. Tops is the previous one. I think top speed touched 40, and we did like 20,000 vertical feet.
Savage.
So we were, I mean, it was a lot of sort of the blue runs, smooth blue runs, not very busy. So you could just punch the hill. And so in that sense, that was a lot of fun, but equally, it still gets exhausting.
Hmm.
That one I don't know, but that one going into that trip, I was over 260, probably 265, and now sitting at 212. So
Wow.
Wow.
it is fun, and as I sent a picture to Peter because the other thing, it's been it's got to be it's at least a decade, if not longer. Like so, been married almost 25 years. It'll be 25 next April. Got married at about 240. Rings fit then. We did size down, lost a bunch of weight. So then I resized the rings and I like since kind of definitely have crept up. So I've been north of probably 220 since that point. And so the rings really don't fit. And, I sent a picture to Coach Peter the other day going, I can get the ring on. It's like it fits where it hasn't I mean, like things were just so, like you just couldn't do it. And so it's kind of like, that's one of those things. Like it's a small thing because
That's
it's a ring,
beautiful.
a size difference, but it's amazing. Your fingers do swell, things change, and you can't do it. So
That's amazing.
Just a little notch on the belt, right? Of like, but you earned that. I mean, I'm just looking at your weight chart. I mean, to go from 260 in April of 2024 to 212. I mean, that's that's a long time of staying dialed in. And I mean, that's impressive, man. I mean, what's kept
thank
you
you.
in the game? What has allowed you to not only lose the weight, but it looks like now keep it off for a pretty extended period of time?
It is the just really because, like I say, we'd yo-yoed before, so I had a pretty good understanding sort of how to lose it, but probably not how to maintain it. So it is getting much more dialed in on the food, what you're eating, what choices, and even, I mean, we do plenty of stuff. I'll say not on plan, but it is when you do that, how do you get back? How do you sort of recover and how do you balance it out so you can do that without being like, oh my goodness, over crazy here. How do I? So there's a lot of sort of managing that aspect, and we have done a really good job of sort of what we've changed into is cooking a lot of stuff at home, like how you prep that, or even if you're out checking how what you're eating. Like I say, you're just making some of those, and they're not huge compromises, right? You can do some pretty light stuff to change it out and still be feeling like you didn't have to like give up the full ghost, right? And not feel bad, right? If you have to eat something, you do, and then kind of correct it from, the next day or whatnot. So it is, and that was some of the concern trying to find something is like we'd yo-yo, and I'm like, I just don't want to do that. I want to find something that we can maintain. So it's kind of the eating and the working out and, staying focused in there.
So you said your main thing was like the ski trip. So you were 260, 265 then. You go on this ski trip. You didn't feel the way you wanted to feel. You didn't perform the way you wanted to perform.
Right.
Was there anything else back then that was bothering you? Like if you go back and think about just kind of where you were then.
The other thing is, I think I talked to you, but I know I've talked with Peter about it, and my wife's heard it ad nauseum. I don't want to be in one of the carts going around whatever store. I'm like, it is a sizable fear. And I'm like, I'll be a pretty miserable person. I mean, it's one thing if you get injured, I'll still be miserable, but if it's because I didn't make decisions and I'm now there, I mean, I'm not going to be, I will not be a good person. I'll be because it's just like, it's too much the ability to move and go and do. And
Yeah.
say, we're now 53, you start seeing people, you're like, you just can't, you got to make your choices now. So then when you're there, you're not, that you already gave up the go.
Good for you.
Wow.
It's relatable. I have a good friend of mine who loves golfing. He's golfed more than I am, and he's, unfortunately in that sense, everybody's got their decisions, but he's been a little, he's certainly over, and he's like his back's bothering him. I'm like, I get that, been there, and like you're now at your hard choice. Your choice is either stay where you are or make, improvements. Otherwise, it continues down that path.
Right.
Man.
So when you were looking for a solution when you came to KT, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember had you looked at anything else? Like had you looked at any other programs or anything before you came and found KT?
I'm not super deep. I was certainly the combination was looking for something at home, something Certainly dialed in more to the kettlebell. So I can't recall who, but there's a handful kind of looking through. It was, like I say, and I know when I reached out to you, I'm sure I forget the exact advertisement. I'm like, right, works, it's 4 times a week. Because at the end, right, we're not trying to be at any bodybuilder competition. It's so I can do things I want to do. And so it's not to see how much time I can spend doing it. I'm like, this kind of fits the bill, right? I do like the whole setup, right? Where you talk to the coach, it's kind of like, here's your macro things you need to hit. Here's your workouts. I'm not having to because that was part of it too, right? If you're on your own, you have to think about, okay, I'm going to work this, I'm going to work that, I'm going to do this here, right? It's like, here's your stuff, and kind of, as we'll say, get at it. So then makes that part super easy, that you're not trying to figure it out at the same time.
How much do you think that has been like a key differentiator for you? You'd mentioned you yo-yoed in the past, so I'm guessing you weren't a stranger to like, okay, I need to eat healthier, I need to exercise more. Those things are
Right.
kind of obvious, but like, how much is having a game plan laid out for you that you didn't have to make decisions on been like a really key differentiator in your mind?
For me, it's huge, right? At the end, there's just so much going on, so I don't have to. It is funny. My daughter and I talk about it. She's 22, and she kind of lays it out, and I'm like, I think you're overcomplicating this, but it is. It takes time. When she sets it up, there's a lot of time in that, and I'm like, it's super huge for me. I'm like, you look at, truthfully, I rarely look too many days in advance what we have to do. I'm like, I kind of get it, but I'm like, I look at it and say, okay, you have me doing relatively in this space. I know what it is, and on the day I may adjust the bells based on certain stuff, but short of that, you kind of get at it. And same with adjusting the date or time, depending on what's going on. I'd say equally, I know a lot of the time it's set up for like that, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. At the beginning, that was in many respects really hard. And I've even had occasionally do like 3 in a row based on your day. And that third day was brutal. But at this point,
Yes.
it was so hard.
Especially
But
when
it's
you're as
just
strong
like,
as you are. I mean, you're moving
uh,
heavy ass weight.
you've been doing this, and then now it's like, that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, it fits really well. If I've had to do 3 in a row, that third day is nowhere near the killer it used to be. And it's just like, that's where I know easily the biggest difference is, where you're like, you can just do what you kind of set up to do.
I love it. You're like, dude, I'm just kind of walking blind, Peter. You just like, the lights are
Sure.
off. I don't even know where I'm going, but as long as you just like, oh, don't bump into that. You're like, I'll just, I'll do it. It's on my
Sort
sheet.
of,
I'm going to do it.
right? I mean, I have pinged him on, like, when we had to do the quads. I'm like, that's just, those are diabolical. I'm like, quad
Did you
TV.
miswrite that? Are you sure?
God, I'm like, that's so hard.
That's why you don't look ahead. You don't want
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
dreading that. You're like, I'd rather just find out day of.
Those are brutal. But because we talked about too in some of the chats, right, where you go, where have you noticed? It's when you can do the doubles and triples. That's to me kind of the big deals, right? PRs on single bells are fun and great, but doubles and triples, I mean, they're, especially if they're heavier. That's a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
Such a kettlebell guy thing to say. I love that. That's so great. Did you ever train with bells? You said you'd never worked with kettlebells before you came to us, right?
Had not.
Yeah.
And now you're a doubles, triples guy. I mean, that just warms my cold Irish heart. It really does.
I mean, it's a lot of fun.
It really is.
Jason, I'm trying to remember back to the call that we had initially. You remember, do you remember how you felt when you signed up? Like, did you have any resistance to signing up, or were you like, no, I'm ready, let's go?
There's certainly a curiosity, right? It's like, how's this really going to play out? So certainly I had some of that, but it's like I mean, my wife and I talked about it. It's like, all right, we're here. This is what it is. This is what I need. Let's, kind of see how it plays out, right? So it's, certainly I still do struggle, and some of it's the time and getting the steps in, and where that's at. That can be, certainly be I get after as many as I can, and kind of leave it in there and try not to over. It's one of those, I'm definitely a classic overthinker, so you don't try to do it. But it was trying to balance, and there is, to me, that time was trying to figure out how you're going to do all of this, and there's some changes, but certainly now it's like it's pretty, Sunday's prep day, or if it's not, how you balance it out, what stuff do you have around the house to stay on plan. I'm like, I won't call them a cheat code, but stuff that's easy that you don't have to do much, thinking through on it. And so but certainly, I mean, there's a little nervousness, like you're getting into something, like what are you getting yourself involved in, right? It's like, what are we doing? But
so that was the main concern, was like, okay, am I going to have enough time to do all this stuff? Before you even started the program, is like, is this all going to play out where it's going to be realistic for me to actually show up and do it? Because I think, when guys come to that decision point to join KT, The reason why guys don't join is either number one, they don't feel like they're going to execute the plan, just like in general, they have nervousness around it, or number
Yep.
two, they have worries about whether they're going to be able to do it really long term. Like, this is actually going to be something that I can do longer than 4 months or a year, etc.
Right. Mine was definitely a little bit of kind of see how it plays and then changing. Like even at that time prior to starting up, we had started doing a fair amount of meal prepping, but I've changed how I've done that too, where it's a lot more just have the food ready way at the day before, not necessarily have each day everything super planned out, but have all the stuff you need for a basic general plan for the food. So that saves back to time, because for me, I'm roughly an hour from the office, so that's 2 hours of commute time plus work plus things. So the days can get long and tricky. I know you posted some stuff, Grant, on like morning workouts. I can't do it. That's just not me. But so you just have to adjust. I'm like, there's reasons why as Midwest, right? You got to get up. There's stuff, but I'm like, so now it is come home. The first thing is pretty much get home, unpack, and do the workout, and then get on with the rest of the evening. Let's like get that knocked out, so then you can do whatever needs to get done.
I love hearing that you don't. I love hearing that you don't like put your food in already weighed out meal containers. Anytime I see someone doing that, I'm like, I've never worked like that. I could see how that would be beneficial, but I've always just like have my Tupperware full of my proteins. It's like I always want to have a bunch of burgers and a bunch of chicken thighs already cooked in my fridge. And then I'm just going to put that shit together with, then I have a rice container and I have a sweet potato container. It's like if I have those four things in my fridge at pretty much any time, I'm always going to be one little step away from putting it on a scale and then being right where I need to be.
Yeah, I mean, because it does take a lot more time to do that because we did some of that. Now, there's some convenience, but boy, it's very much to your point. It's a lot easier just to have the food in there and you go, okay, I'm gonna do this or that. Or we did the last couple of weeks because we needed to use them up. We had egg white containers and you did an egg bake. Those are pretty much then divided up, but you have it ready to go. And so then it's super easy to just grab it and enter it and move on.
Yum, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I was about to say that sounds so good.
Where's my egg bake? That's a good idea. I should do an egg bake.
So, Jason, from your your perception, your maybe nervousness around how this is going to play out, how did it actually play out in reality? Like for you, how would you explain that to someone?
It's been really good. There's no other way, right? So when it came up like the 1 year and you go like, well, hey, you can do it again. And back to, the wife and I talked it through and you're like, can't complain, right? This is certainly it's getting better. It wasn't, had the initial goal weight not quite there. And there's a lot of reasons why not. I, did have, light injury in certain things, but I'm like, as I remember telling Peter, I'm like, I'll trade off strength versus the initial number loss weight because you are gaining ability to do stuff. So I'm like, this has worked well, so why not continue? There's no complaint there. I was telling him recently, it's going well when I think my two-handed swing started at a 50-pound belt. And last week or two, I'm doing a one-hand 80-pound. And you're sort of like, clearly you've made some improvements.
Maybe functionally stronger now.
Right.
Wow.
So it's like I'm more than what I could do two-handed when I started with one. So then you're like,
what about your Turkish get up? Where did that start and where are you at now?
So that to me is a little more tricky one, right? Because never doing it, so you kind of start pretty light. Yeah, you're pretty much at zero. So what could you really do or not? The heavy there is, like I said, I have definitely more pounds. I forget, I know the convert kilogram, but it's 80 pound. You can do an 80 pound.
36 kg. Yeah, that's awesome.
You went from 0 to a 36 kg Turkish get up?
Yeah.
And
I super priority. It was working all right. I really wanted to be able to do it at my birthday in May. So there was a certain amount of effort and focus to make that, like get that dialed in to get there.
Love that.
Wow, man. Wow. You're doing 80 pound one-hand swings and 80-pound Turkish get-ups.
And that was in May that you hit that 36 PR?
Correct.
Is that correct? So about 1 year, it took you to go from 260 to what appears to be about 220 in May. It looks like you were about there. So 40 pounds lost and essentially kettlebell beginner to doing 80-pound one-hand swings and get-ups.
Yes. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
It's so, I mean, it is for all the exercise, this, that, and the other. There's just a certain amount for me to focus in what it is and the functionalness of it where you're not just, like certainly in high school, you do your bench presses, all that stuff. I'm like, it's just not interesting, to each their own. But I'm like, that there's certainly part of it. It's not all that, that's one of the reasons I didn't care to work out. I found it dreadfully dull. So then I just to stay with it, where this is the functional, the motion and what you do with it is just, to me, is far more interesting. And what you do to dial in.
Jason, what program are you in right now inside of KT? Which program are you following training wise?
Got Jason
Honestly, I don't know.
right here. He's in Ninja Phase Bridge 1.
Okay, so
Yep,
Ninja
there you go.
Bridge. So you basically just finished the Ninja Crash course at the end of Mastery. Wow. All right.
Snatch.
Because I wanted to ask you a specific question about that, because when guys come to KT, everyone starts with the first 4-month program. They start with the kettlebell. It's called kettlebell transformation, right? The swing and the get up is your main focus, and then you transitioned into what is called kettlebell mastery, which is where you go through pretty specific skill learning and then strength and endurance progressions with the advanced skills. So I wanted to ask you, from your perspective, what had that experience been like in terms of learning all the skills and really transitioning from just the foundation of swing and get up to then learning the advanced skills over the course of mastery that you have been doing now for a while?
I will say it's fun to learn. Pretty much everything new is kind of fun. And so it's, to go through, I do like some of the, like when you have to do some of the combinations where you kind of go through the cycles and the ladders. Those are always kind of entertaining for me. Certainly, as we all joke, right? That anytime you had a lot of snatches, those were always a little, okay, how are you going to make sure not to die, not to tear your hand to pieces? But
I thought you were going to say not to die.
There's a little of that, but not too bad. It's balancing out. Well, and that's a lot of things we come up with, right? What I like is, certainly with the snatches, I've done, depending on where I'm in the round, up and down on the bells, right? Well, I will switch out a bell if it gets too heavy or too light. Going, all right, to really kind of stay in on form, I will switch. It's like you push through and you go, I can't get done with that round, and you're like, there's no way I can do it. There's just no way. So I need to, bell down so we can get through. In there. But yeah, that can be a little dicey. But it was even like today, I did, for the first time, swung the double 28Ks. So that was fantastically fun.
Whoa.
I was telling Peter that. I'm like, yeah, I felt I could do them, but I just hadn't ordered them yet. And Amazon had a little delivery problem, but they came in, and I'm like, all right, well, today's one of the days we get to work on it, so we'll give it a go.
Seamus, you're muted if you said something, because I know you said something right there. There you go.
That's a hell of a lot heavier than a 36 kg. That's a 56 kg.
Right.
Yeah. So, because I haven't ordered the single bell, I was able to get the two, and I'm like, because that's where we are right now, is practicing the two hand. And I'm like, all right, we'll give that a.
Man,
that's impressive.
Very strong. Swinging the double 28s. That is a very strong thing to do. Can I share my screen real quick and just ask your feelings on something, Jason?
Sure. Absolutely.
I've always wanted to do this with somebody who's been through a journey like you have, and so I just want to share this real quick, because I've had this pulled up just like while we were chatting with each other. This is your weight chart, right, from when you started, which you started at 260, and one of the things we talk a lot about is, now I know when you first started with KT, you actually, if I'm not mistaken, you actually committed to our Year of Change program up front,
correct,
right? So you were already kind of mentally in for a full year. You said, I'm committed to this journey for at least a year. But a lot of guys, they join our program for 4 months when they start out, and then they decide whether or not they're going to continue beyond that 4-month period. And so I wanted to just get your opinion on this, because looking at your chart, April 29th, 2024, you come to us at 260. So 4 months later, at the end of August, you're sitting here at 240. So you dropped 20 pounds off, and you've gotten the basics of swings and get ups down. And I'm assuming probably started to feel pretty good and feel a lot better. Do you think that you could have stopped with the program and the structure and the accountability and the coaching at that point and been able to achieve what you've achieved since end of August 24 to then go on and lose another 30 pounds and now keep it off here steadily for, and you can say yes if you honestly think you could have. I genuinely want to know.
In a simple word, the answer is no. And that was part of probably the year commitment, kind of prior to ups and downs. It's like there's time to make everything work, and where you're going to go and what you're going to do. So it was you can lose a lot, gain a lot. There's a lot you can do in 4 months. So it wasn't that. It was just more. It was much more around what's the long term look like, and even some of my other times of losing weight because the initial goal was 200, and after kind of now that we're doing that challenge with the Hume scale and whatnot, it's probably more like 210 is much more of a reality number, or a better maintainable number.
Mm.
I knew we probably couldn't get, it'd been super unlikely to get that in the 4 months. So then it's like, well, what's the point of doing the 4 months? So you might as well, sort of get in so you understand all of it and kind of stay with it
So you
for me.
understood that you had a goal that was definitely going to take more than 4 months. And you're like, I
Correct.
mean, you'd obviously mentioned that you yo-yoed a lot in the past. Did that play into your decision making for
Hmm.
going for a more long-term view of what you were,
Absolutely.
I guess, investing in, right?
Yep. I mean, that's even in the chart. You see, it's like I plenty of times I get to 220, and that was always a little bit of the plateau in there. And so with Peter, it's like, yeah, we in that window, we're like, all right, we did up the calories, did some of this, just kind of reset, and then at this point, back to this challenge now, it's like, all right, now we redipped and have been able to continue forward. So, but
Man,
even when I got to the 220, I was feeling all right because it was like back to, it
yeah.
was a lot stronger. I could do, there's all kinds of things I could do that I wasn't even the other time. So I'm like, you know, wasn't disappointed. It was just a different view.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, in a year, you lost 40 pounds. And as you mentioned, it sounds like in that time, you almost kind of released this idea of I need to see a certain weight on the scale because I actually just feel good. The workouts I'm doing are fun. I'm significantly more functionally capable here.
Correct.
Right. And now, I mean, the other thing to point out is like you plateaued, right? Quote unquote plateaued. But it's like you could also look at it as, well, dude, from end of March until end of September, you maintained 40 pounds of weight loss while getting stronger and more
Right.
skilled.
Right.
That's a lot of people, like you even mentioned. You're like, I knew how to lose it. I didn't know how to maintain it. It's like, so like, this is an important learning phase, I think, for a lot of guys that they don't do. They just start going the other way once they hit the bottom. Right. And then it's like all of a
Right.
sudden they're 235 again. And then they're 240. And they're like, oh crap, now I got to get back on a diet and like be super strict so I can get back down to where I was. Whereas you didn't do that. You just found a way to maintain. And now, like you said, with the challenge that we've got working right now you've obviously found the next gear and figured out whatever you were, missing or needed to do more strictly or whatever that is. Sometimes it just takes time to break through plateaus like that.
And that's certainly right. With KT and reading online, it is one of those, except, things take time. And as, I didn't get where I was in a year either, right? That's, it's years of where things were at. So you're not going to correct it in a short window either. And, it is the staying with it, right? I mean, one of the more favorite things out there right now is, choose your hard. Everything's hard. It's what are you going to do? Are you going to take the hard path of getting yourself in a better spot, or are you just going to stay hard where everything's, just hard for you to move and live, go up and down? It's, what direction are you going to take it?
Mm. Man, I'm so excited you took it this direction. You said that you love doubles and triples. You said bell down. I mean, this is like the language of a
He's
guy
a
who's going to
kettlebell
keep
guy.
swinging bells, man.
Yeah.
It's like you found your thing, man. That's
So
I've said this before, but Grant and I, and I'll let you go, Grant, I promise.
that's good.
But dude, we started this business with the mission of helping guys fall in love with kettlebells. That was like our secret, unstated mission because we knew that weight loss and these things were very important. So it really is so exciting to me to hear that you've achieved the weight loss side of things, which is great. It's what you signed up for probably, but to give you that feeling of being able to go and ski and do whatever you want, and also just like loving training. I didn't love training either. I hated the traditional weightlifting, and it also made my body feel terrible, like injury wise, And so finding kettlebells was that thing that allowed me to actually be like, oh, I can be excited about working out now. Like I actually enjoy it.
I say for me, and I know Grant, you're going to go, but it's like
That's okay.
I don't function in a weight room. I'm like, life, everything I'm doing is outside of that. So if you don't have, where it was years ago, I saw a video and it just still resonates. There's I have to say older lady now that I'm still old, but older lady. And I mean, she practiced getting up off the floor because it is a reality of kind of the aging. And you're like, right, all these things. I'm like, and to me, that's, it's even my wife's commented when she's doing the Turkish get ups. I'm like, it is effectively getting up off the floor. You're underweight. I mean, things you do in life. So it makes you, you're doing a lot of weight training and things you're going to do in your life versus just, strength training to grow, as you say, sort of bodybuilding. Nothing against it, to each their own, but, not a goal.
I was just going to ask Jason if you felt like, because you said you've yo-yoed, you had done different things in the past. We obviously talked a lot about your experience, and you've said the things that were different. But like, I think a lot of people listening to this would be wondering, well, what's so different about this for you? You know, what's so different about this system that you feel confident now that you can maintain and continue to progress?
There's no doubt a simplicity to it. That's it's like you say, it's sort of a simple, not easy, right? You don't have it's not complicated, but there's still a lot you need to do, but you're not trying to figure out a lot of things. You know, there's adjustments in there, and I do like fundamentally the um, relative time of the workout, right? Generally speaking now, time to start, time to end. So warm up to finish, cool down, and resting might be an hour, but that's, 4 times a week. So that's, and it's, say it's in the house, I walk down the stairs and you go to it. And as you say, you need 4 times a week. So you're not, I always hated sharing equipment. It's just tedious. I'm definitely a time I hate standing around. If I got to wait for somebody, I hate doing it. So it's all that kind of,
So true. Get out of my
it's
way.
it's just the thing I get. I mean, I understand why you're having to do it, but I don't want to do it. So then when you're at your house, it's just, you get through it. But, it's truthfully too, we've had a few times where stuff is going on, workout gets interrupted. Okay, you can stop and you can, pick it up the next day if you need to, right? Where things are at. And it's just sort of that flexibility, but it is the simplicity where I'm looking at doing. I'm not having to try to figure out what's the order and the progression. This is kind of what you need to do. And as I say, I've had the tennis and golf elbow, still kind of working through that, but then that's working with Peter on, okay, well, how do we adjust? What do we do to adjust?
That's great. I love how you've learned about the fact that, like, because you even mentioned belling down, right? And understanding, like,
Hmm.
well, if I'm going to be playing this longer game, then I have to keep doing this. I just need to adjust based on new
Right.
information, which is, hey, my elbow's been bugging me. Okay, so maybe then the snatching or the one hand swinging for a while is going to not be something that's going to be the best choice, but there are other choices you can make to still stay on track overall.
Yeah, he had me go to the upside down bell, which I'd seen people do. I did not realize how challenging that would be.
How
Oh,
dare
wow,
he?
how mean of him!
We'll have
Like, it's like I was like, okay, I'm in. I've seen people do it. It looks kind of cool. And you're like, my goodness, that is
for the get up.
substantial. Yeah,
What weight did you use? You're like dropping an 8K, like can barely hold it up. I know how those go, man. Those are
I
so
don't.
heavy.
I do some for warm up now, just because I do like helping keep the routine in. But I don't know if I got much ahead above like a 35 pound. I'm like, it is way more challenging than I
Way more.
expected.
Yeah,
I was like,
35
my
is pretty
goodness.
impressive, man.
right. I was about to say the
Hey,
same thing.
You got to be focused.
well, you do, and everything. I'm like, you're squeezing hard. I'm like, my, but it did help. Like I say, it doesn't put as much pressure on the elbows, and you're still doing the motion, and you're working things differently. And like I say,
Right.
I've moved that into my warm up simply to kind of get grooved in for the Turkish get up because you got to keep it dialed. That's up. And now with the warm up, it's a much lighter. I probably use a 20 pounds, so nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing serious, but it's part of the warm up to get,
I like that.
you know, that you're
Yeah,
ready to go.
Jason, I'm curious. You mentioned the convenience factor. You mentioned
Hmm.
just like it's number one. It's I can just walk downstairs, go to my mat, and I can crush my 40-minute workout. I don't have to commute. I don't have to go to the gym. I don't have to share weights. I don't have to deal with gym jabronis flexing in the mirror. Like so
Bro.
I like that.
so okay. So that all makes sense. Do you feel like that's really the biggest difference for you? And if it is, it's totally fine. What I'm curious to understand is like, if you think back to where you were when you were 265 and just hanging out 265, not happy with where you are on the ski hill, doing what you wanted to do you feel like you're a different guy now in terms of like how you view taking care of yourself? Do you view it like this is like it's like the same attempt that I did before, right? Whereas like I tried to work out and try to eat healthy before. Do you feel like it's kind of the same mindset now, or do you feel like there's been any changes there for you?
No, definitely a mindset change, right? It knew some of the food, but we're a lot more dialed in on it. And in some of the repetitiveness of having to do it, you learn kind of faster and easier to prep, right? So we do like chicken breasts. It's like I never could before, but you learn everything. And I know how to butterfly one. They're not always best, maybe not restaurant, but I can do it. And then, like I say, I post pictures of grilling. Grilling to me was super, especially on a flat top. You can get through a lot of the stuff pretty quick and you have a lot. And it works, right? So there's a certain amount of, I hadn't done it before, but now, there's even outside of working out, how do you prep your, how much food and what do you prep, and staying in it and being okay with it, right? So we had pulled out of our house years ago, so they haven't been in our house forever and a day, generally like chips, right? Or certain junk food. We had stopped buying years ago. Kind of already was in that mindset a little bit, but this just kind of took it to a better, more clear picture, what we need to do, where we're at, and still having stuff, you're not eating. I do get a lot of, they bust my chops at work all the time of, hey, what do you chicken and broccoli for lunch every day. And I'm like, it's not chicken and broccoli every day.
Yeah,
But
that's the secret.
sometimes it is. It's kind of funny. I'm like, hey, look, I got chicken and broccoli, but
Right.
how you vary that up so you're not, to some degree eating exactly the same stuff. And then,
Yes.
but I have equal, like I say, I saw a different Instagram guy where I knew it existed, but I didn't think of it. I mean, there's, chicken breasts in a can. And I'm like, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know that. And I'm like, that's a super easy cheat on a day where you're like, I didn't prep anything. You just pop a can, you can super easy prep it, throw some rice, and
It works.
it works. And I'm like, I'm not doing it every day, but it's something that makes it,
Right.
stay on plan and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's like get the nutrition side of things. I think a lot like the kettlebell side of things is it's equal part habit and consistency and routine as it is an actual skill set. Like
Right.
some of the stuff you mentioned was like you were actually acquiring skills and knowledge through doing that you didn't otherwise have. Even if you would have read like, oh, if you're gonna grill 5 times as much as you would eat in that one meal so that you have leftovers. You don't actually know what that takes and what that looks like unless you're
Right.
doing that over time.
And it is visually better now, but it is the weighing of the food where you're much, much more aware. It's like you kind of know, but now you're like acutely aware of how much.
Awareness.
And and that does sort of change. And so now certainly it is funny though. You do go to eat out sometimes, they bring the food and you're like, well, you don't give me any idea. I have no idea what, you're like doing that. I don't know, but you're like, it's when you're so used to, hey, I need to weigh everything. It's this, that, and the other. And you're like, well, you just brought me something, but
Yeah, that's good. It's really nice, man.
Do you
yeah.
feel like
Your skills and your experience are very cool to hear about.
Yeah, it's I've certainly enjoyed it, right? So I'm, as I say, it's the year and a half coming up almost two, and I'm like, it's the app told me today, I'm like, 288 workouts. I'm like, as I told Peter, I'd never, at no point in my life had I ever stayed working out for a year. Not even, I bet 4 months was tops, like tops, because I would run, lose interest, didn't want to do it, insert whatever, and then one day turns into a week, turns into a month, turns into you're not.
amazing? Do your friends and family, have they noticed? Have they, friends, family, people who knew 265-pound Jason, what have they said about where you're at now?
For sure. And certainly those that when you see them infrequently is when they're like, it's a little different. I mean, I've had people at work that I don't work with a lot. They're like, so you've lost weight. And it's kind of the funny, what have you done? I'm like, well, here's the plan. It's simple. I'm not going to call it easy, but it's not, you know, you kind of do, this is what you're doing, right?
What do they say about kettlebells? What are the funny things you've heard about bells?
Don't they hurt your back?
Yeah,
That's the most common is the
definitely.
back, which it's kind of, I look at it and go, but you can do that so many different ways. I'm like, I get it, right?
You can hurt your back sitting all day. What's the difference?
100%. So it's kind of like, no, I'm like, no, it actually doesn't. I'm good, practice, certainly there's time, right? Like anything, you can do stuff, but, being mindful of what you're doing. I'm like, but the back's the biggest one. They have, and I've shown work like the get up, they're like, are you worried about dropping it? And, there's a little bit of truthfully at the bigger ones. Yeah, truthfully, the bigger ones, you do get a little, that could be, but, you know, hang on,
The bottoms up one? Yes, I was worried I was going to drop it on my face. Thank you very much.
right? I am pretty pleased I have not done that because there is, truthfully, right? I work out we have in the house, and so on the floor, and I'm like, especially the big ones, I'm like, I do get a little nervous if that's going to drop because it's a heavy bell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to repair a hole in the floor. Kettlebell shaped hole in the floor.
Yeah. Great story, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't go over there.
Yeah. Be a little soft.
Man, that is good stuff. So how do you feel now, Jason, in terms of your ability? You're obviously with us. You're going to be rocking with us now for another 6 to 8+ months. But how do you feel about your ability to continue to do the stuff that you've learned in this program? Because you're probably not going to be a client of KT's forever. Maybe you will be. Maybe like that'd be awesome if you were. But
We will be.
but if you aren't, hypothetically, How confident do you feel like you could continue to do this stuff?
That's a great question because there is an accountability factor that can get tricky, right? Skill wise, for the core things, I would feel pretty confident. Where it gets a little then in the, are you going to do it? If you're going to progress, how do you progress in some of those spaces? But yeah, the core from, snatches to get ups to two hand to one hand, completely comfortable in that space doing it. But it is the, are you going to do it? And if you're going to progress, or if you need to change, because of A, B, C, or D, do you know, where you're at with that?
Man, that's such a great point. What he just said is, are you going to do it? Dude, we have had plenty of guys come in, get great results in 4 months to a year, and then almost tell us that, oh, like, I learned what I need to learn, but then we'll find out 3, 6, 12 months down the road that they haven't been doing this stuff. They haven't been executing. They haven't been working out. They had taken the whole summer off of working out for various reasons. And that's an interesting thing that you said there is like, are you actually going to do it? Because there is an inherent accountability to it when you are obviously invested in a part of a community and in a program, have a coach.
Right.
Man,
It is a huge proportion to make because it is like I say, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So there's a certain amount of that where you need to accountability. It's not, it's you're like I say that to me, it's the new lexicon. Choose your heart. Everything's hard. You just need to choose which path you're going to take, and then are you going to staying with it? And as I say, I hadn't at no point have I worked out for a solid year. So this is pushing 2 years of doing something that at no point I've never done, and where it goes, but it does super help. Like, I've had to rework on with the get ups, my left side struggles. And so then it's helping to talk with Peter through that. Cause it's like, hey, this is, and we're working through kind of just regaining that, the right consistency. So, and that if you don't have anybody, that gets a little trickier.
Yeah, right. Which to me is like, that just speaks to the value of accountability and having someone else to help with the decision making in these forks in
Right.
the road, where like you've gotten amazing results, you've acquired all these skills, and yet you're still here saying, yeah, but like the accountability piece and the guidance and the knowing how to progress and the being able to troubleshoot if I feel like I'm not quite certain what I need to do next, there's still so much value there, even though I've already achieved probably more than you could have envisioned achieving from a just overall body composition fitness standpoint, which I'm not trying to tee up KT or Peter or anything. I'm just saying, like, it just shows the value of having that versus not having that, even though you're already successful. That's cool,
Well,
man.
you can't know everything about everything. So that's why we just kind of have what you can do.
Yeah. Well, good for you for making the investment at the start, making the investment again, and knowing that it's worth it. I'm so glad to hear that you and Peter have crushed it and been able to work through all the things. Everyone's got those things that come up, the left side stuff and just the stuff, man, that's tough to dig through. And you've done it really well. And congrats on your recent breakthrough. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's been,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of which, how many more and which ones. That's kind of where the decision comes.
Well, you have to snatch the 48 kg before you leave.
Right.
PT, I think is the ultimate.
Yep.
Sure.
Sorry. Now, Jason, we always give our clients who come onto the podcast, we give them the opportunity to take a moment and say a word about their coach. So if you want to take a moment, shout out to Coach Pete, Coach Pistol Pete.
He is fantastic. The two things we talk about, I love working with Pete. He's fantastic, and he's very good on a lot of things. But the things I do bust his chops on is because he's got the 3 kids. Mine's 22, his are not. And I'm like, yeah, it gets harder and easier all at the same time, man. So good luck.
Good luck, Peter.
I'm like, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, but he's very good. He makes the right time, and as I say, keeps it in the sense of also keeps it, very, we'll say, kind of keeps it real, right? If there's we all struggle at stuff, and it's like you had a bad day, it is the next one. It's not the end of the world if the day didn't go right. You just get ready for the next one.
He's so good at that. That sounds just like Peter. It really does. Like,
right.
He's so right. Just so casual about it too. Fuck it, move on.
That's what happens when you got 3 young kids, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Next day will be better. Oh, please be better.
Yeah. Sometimes
right,
guys
Jason.
come to us and they'll say, well, I don't need a drill sergeant, like yelling at me every day. I'm like, that's not really what coaching is. That's not really what's going to happen inside of here.
So rapid fire, Jason. What's your favorite kettlebell exercise?
I do like the get up. Not gonna lie.
What's your like favorite weight? You only get to use one weight for the next month. What are you going to choose?
So it's probably the 80-pound because I can do a lot with it.
Oh.
One hand swing, two hand swing, Turkish get up.
One hand, two hand, do the suitcase. I mean, there's certain things I can't, but I can do most of the things we need to do. I could do with it.
Love it.
Beast.
Yeah, total beast mode. Last thing that we'll kind of wrap up on, because I know we're coming to the end. What are you going to say to a guy who is in your position, back in April 24, is thinking about joining, but is, thinking about all the reasons that it wouldn't work out or whatever? I mean, what's your advice for that guy?
It is, right? Especially, I mean, definitely where I'm coming from, right? You're now 53, life, nothing gets easier. So it's choices on how to extend what you want to do, and even maintain, right? That is to me, it's a little bit of the practicality of it is, equally seen stuff where it's like, as you age, right, your muscles, everything gets harder. So the only way you sort of prevent that is you need to get your motion and get going. Otherwise, it just makes it harder. It's never easier.
Man.
Get going now. Don't delay.
Right. And there's, I did see, it's kind of funny in that vein a little bit, saw another lady, back to maybe I spent too much time on Instagram, but that was her post. She's like, the reason you're doing all this is when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you're going to be able to do it. And it's like, yep, not wrong.
I have one more question for you, Jason, one more rapid fire. So maybe it's going to be the same advice, but what would you say to a new KT client, like someone who just signed up, they're in their first week, they're nervous, they're wondering about, is this all going to work out? What would you say to that person?
It is kind of stay the course and trust it, right? Don't get too worked up. Like I say, I forget who has said it, but they're like, hey, you can look at this and do all that. I'm like, I don't know why I would. You guys have it laid out for me, so I'm just going to stay with it and go at it, right? You've kind of laid that piece out, so all I need to do is do the execute. I don't need to spend the time trying to figure it out, and you stay with it. And equally, it is that don't get discouraged, because any of the journeys, both in weight loss and in working out, one day things can go up and down. So it is what does the trend look like, not day to day, 1 week, 2 week, where are you at that point?
That applies to anything in life, doesn't it? Jeez.
Right.
Just what's the trend? Man, that's great advice.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
Well done.
Drop your mic, Grant. You're actually holding a mic, so it's a perfect opportunity to just...
Yeah, don't drop it too far.
Thank you very much, Jason. And it's also a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we get to train together sometime. A little Midwest throwdown.
Yes. I'd be good. That'd be fun.
Truly grateful for guys like you, Jason, who go all in and they just follow the process and they execute. Seriously, we are thankful for you guys every day.
I appreciate that. It's like I say, it's as back at you, because it does make it, when you just need to execute, then it simplifies a lot of it.
Very good.
Also, Jason's going to be on the board heading up the KT ski retreat early 2026 or 2027, whenever we do that. Jason will be helping us plan that, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
Amazing.
I'm good. I'm in.
Very good. All right, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you again, Jason, for your time, and we'll see you in school, man. Cheering you on when you hit that 300th workout here and 12 more workouts.
Sounds good.
Let's go, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.